Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some potato canning. We're going to hot pack potatoes today. And this is the book that I've been using for years. This is the book that I use for my canning. So I'm going to just let it sit there while we do this. And this is everything that we need for canning. And I think I got it all, but I might have missed some things. Obviously, you're going to need a pressure canner of your choice. You're going to need that, the whole pressure canner. This is for when I blanch my potatoes. This will help me take them out. This is the funnel. It has different measurements there, but you use whatever funnel you'd like. This came in a set. These two were, well, I'm not sure if this is a set, but this came in a set. So you've got your funnel, you've got your canning ladle. I mean, you can use any ladle, really. This is a debubbler with the measuring right here, so you use that to debubble. I prefer to use this one. I just gravitate towards this one. And then this is the measuring, so it's got 1 inch, it's got 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. It just got all your different measurements. I actually went the opposite way, so that would be 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch right there. And then the debubbler has the magnet to pick up the lids, the flats from the boiling water. You used to have boiling water. You used to have to let them sit in boiling water for a while before. That rule went out the window, so you don't need the boiling water anymore. So I don't really use the magnet very often, but it's there. It used to come with that. And then I use a spoon because you need 1 inch headspace for this, and sometimes if I go over or I'm just below, I go ahead and use this to take some of the liquid out or put some more liquid in. The plate is just to hold everything in place, and then if you have little potatoes that fall, then you just put them on there. Obviously, you would need your jar with the flat or the lid and the ring. You need to have clean jars. So when you get these, you have to wash them in hot soapy water. You can run them through the dishwasher. Always make sure that you check the rim for any nicks, any discrepancies, just anything that would prevent a seal. So that one is good. I'm going to show you. Oh, I forgot. You also need your jar grabber. This is for when you take your jars out of the canner. So you need that. I'm going to show you, this was a jar that I purchased, the red ring around it with the markers, just so that I know that it's not good for canning. Yeah, you can see that right there. It just came with that. It's a smooth spot, but this is definitely not good for canning. That would not allow for a good seal. So that jar came like that from the store, so just watch out for them. This one, I was getting ready just a little bit ago, and you know, right out of the box, brand new, but I was washing it, getting it ready, and you can't see any imperfections. It looks like a good jar, and it is a good jar for other things, just not for canning. But when I run my finger, there's an imperfection, there's an imperfection, there's another one. So it's just got all these, well, not all, it's got several like little nicks. There's another one. So that could give you a bad seal. So I just will not use a jar like that. If I'm going to spend all the time of preparing, doing all my prep work for this, especially with the potatoes, washing the potatoes, peeling the potatoes, dicing the potatoes, you know, I'm not going to risk using a jar that's going to potentially not give me a good seal, and that's just a whole wasted time and waste of potatoes as well. You know, if you happen to put them up or get a false seal, and then they spoil. So just keep that in mind. So that's for the canning process. I'm going to go ahead and move all this other stuff out of the way, but I'm going to leave the book there for you. And then we are going to begin. Like I said, there might be other things that you need as well, but I think this is, if I come across it as we go on through this video, I'll go ahead and mention it. But for right now, I think that's it. And obviously the pot that you're gonna blanch your potatoes in, you're gonna need that, of course. Over here, you can't see it, but I have a bucket with ice water so that the potatoes don't turn brown while we're working on them. It's just a 5-gallon bucket, food grade. So my helper has been over there peeling potatoes, so I'm gonna go ahead. Ooh, that water is so cold. I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting them up, and I just try to cut them up in about 1 inch. Cut them in 1 inch, and then I will put them into the dicer and I will dice them up. So put that up. I hope y'all have had a wonderful week and that you're starting off with a wonderful weekend. At least this is our weekend, and this is what we're doing. We're canning potatoes. We got a good deal on potatoes, and we gotta preserve them, right? You can't just let them go bad. And there's only so much potatoes you can eat in a given week. I mean, we love potatoes, but there's only so much of that you can eat without getting tired of it. So we gotta preserve it, and this is one of the ways that we preserve it. So I know that this chopping probably does not sound good to you, so I'm only gonna do this. I'm gonna finish this potato, show you what the cubes look like, and then I will bring you along later on. But this is about what the cubes look like. This is how I like to get them. You can do much bigger than this. I find that this size I can get more potatoes into the jar. Alright guys, I'm back. So we finished peeling the 15 pounds of potatoes. So with my notes that I need for blanched potatoes, I need 12 pounds. I went ahead and put 15 pounds just so that I wouldn't be short. But this is what was left, or the peels, and then, you know, there's blemished potatoes, you know, and then we have these potatoes. So this is, I don't know how much weight that is. I may weigh that and let you know later, but that's how much came out of it. And I'm thinking that that's probably more than 3 pounds. I don't know if it would be after I take the weight of the plate and the casserole dish out, but that's how much we had left. I just wanted to show you that. And then we are now going to blanch the potatoes. And the blanching process, if you're not familiar with it, is you get your water to a boiling point. Once it's boiling, you go ahead and put your potatoes in there. The size that I showed you earlier, you know, I would boil these for about 2 minutes. And so that would be the blanching process, and then you're ready to move forward from there. I don't believe I mentioned earlier either that I have the canner going. It's warming up, and I put the jars that I'm going to use. I have 7-quart jars in there, and I fill up my jars with water. That way, while the canner is warming up, I get all that water, as opposed to having to have a different pot going with water boiling for me to be able to fill up my jars once the potatoes are in there. I have that going. So the canner's going with 7 quarts of water in there. That I have another pot going with boiling water so that we can go ahead and get these potatoes blanched. So we're going to do that, and then I will be right back to you. Okay, so the potatoes have been blanched. This is my jars with the water. I'm going to go ahead and pour the water in there so I can go ahead and use the water. It's not a very hard process. It's just very time consuming is all it is. But then once you get it done, you know, you're prepared. You're good to go. You have your potatoes stored. So I have my jars now, and I will be right back. Let me get my canning salt. I forgot my canning salt. Alright, got my canning salt. When you can, you want to use canning salt. That's good. So I'm putting a teaspoon in there. Now the salt is not for the purpose of food safety. The salt is just basically a preference of taste. But I always put my teaspoon of salt there. If I was canning pints, it would be a half a teaspoon. So got my salt in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put my potatoes in there. And you want to get to 1-inch headspace. And obviously this is all the way to the top. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. And I am at 1 inch headspace. So inch headspace is really this ring right here where this starts. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my liquid water. And then I may have to take out 1 or 2 pieces of potato. You want to make sure that you leave the 1-inch headspace. It looks like I need a little bit more water. And then when you debubble to take the air out, you're going to notice that your water level goes down also. So I've got that to about where it should be, but once I do this, it's going to go down. And yeah, I try to get too many potatoes in there. That's just not going to work for me. So see why I keep the little spoon? I always need it, whether it be to take food out, water out, broth out, whatever the case may be. I always wind up needing the little spoon. And so now when I measure, I'm at 1 inch, and that's what I want. I want 1-inch headspace. So I've already debubbled. I've done that. You always want to wipe your rims. So in this case, the potatoes are not greasy, so I would not have to use vinegar, but just as a habit, I use vinegar. That way, you know, I don't have to think about it, whether I'm, you know, if I'm canning meats or something like that, or jams or jellies, I would need the vinegar for the fat and the sugar and stuff like that. But with this, it's just potato and water, I don't need the vinegar, but I use the vinegar. I use the vinegar all the time. And all you're doing is going around making sure that there's nothing stuck. When you do this with like beef or definitely jams and jellies, you get a lot on there. But this was clean. So do that in there. I can just pick up my flats like that because it's no longer boiling water. I'm going to put this on there. And I want to put it, the jars are hot. I just want to put it finger tight. We'll go with the next one. So, a teaspoon of salt. Funnel to make sure I don't make a mess of potatoes. Well, you saw that, and that doesn't really prevent me from making a mess, does it? I make a mess anyway, but that's okay. That one I can tell is probably a little too much. Oh, but look at that, they sunk in just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the water. And guys, this is all it is. This is it. We'll take these jars and we will go put them inside the pressure canner, and we will pressure can them for 40 minutes. If you're doing quarts like these, it's 40 minutes in the pressure canner. If you're doing pints, it's 35 minutes. So I debubbled. It looks like I might need a little bit more water. Nope, I'm good. Alright, so I did the salt in that one. Let me go ahead and do the salt in this one too, because it's the next one that we're going to use. And then put the funnel back on. And I think that might be the only one that I can use. It looks like I am running out of potatoes on here. Now, the other potatoes are blanching. They're in the process of blanching, and I need to go ahead and check on them. They might actually be done by now. So I'm gonna just go ahead and try to fill this jar with this last bit that's in here. And I did, out of all the potatoes that we did, the peels and the potatoes that were, oh, I overfilled, that were not that good, was a total of 3 pounds. So I started out with 15 pounds, and the peels and the bad or blemished potatoes were a total of 3 pounds. So I did weigh those out for you. This one might be too full, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a few of these out. And guys, I'm normally, when I'm doing this, I'm normally pretty focused, and I'm in the kitchen by myself, and I'm just canning away, you know, not normally talking while I'm doing this. So that's why I'm having to come back and add and take away, because I'm a little distracted, just because it's not something that I'm used to. I normally don't do it this way, you know. So I'm sure I'll get used to it talking while I'm canning. I have to, right? If I intend to keep making these videos, I'll have to get used to it. Alright, so it looks like I'm at 1 inch, maybe a tiny bit over, but when I debubble, it should go down. Debubbling, guys, is a very important part. Very important. You don't want any air bubbles trapped in there. And then we're gonna we are at the 1 inch, and I am not going to forget to wipe this rim, not at all. Just go around. Obviously, if I was doing this with jelly, jam, or anything that actually had grease and was actually dirty, I wouldn't just keep going around with the same one, because then I'm just spreading it around. But because there's really nothing to be spread here, this is why I keep doing this. If I was doing it with jam, I would go the first round, I would go ahead and get a clean spot, I would dip it in the vinegar again, and then I would go ahead and come around, you know, get all that gunk off, and then I would keep doing it till it was completely clean, and I would just be using a different part of my towel. But because this is just, there's nothing on there, that's why I just keep going around. Finger tight. And then that one is ready to go, and we will get going on the next one. And I can't go on the next one because I don't have enough potatoes over here. So I will get some potatoes and see you back. Okay, so we have more blanched potatoes here. So we only have 3 jars to go. We've already got 4 in the canner, waiting to be going. So we're just putting this back in. And I already put, there's salt in all of my jars now. There's a teaspoon of salt. So that's why you don't see me putting any more in there. Last weekend, I tried to, well, I did do a video. It didn't go anywhere. Or it hasn't gone anywhere just yet. But we did, it was exhausting. This is why today we only decided to do the 15 pounds of potatoes. Because last weekend we did 50 pounds of potato. And it was a lot. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and debubble. And this one looks like it needs more liquid. Go ahead. Yeah, it's short. And that's perfect. So then we're going to move this scale out of the way. Get some more vinegar. I normally, when I'm doing this just by myself, I normally do 3 jars at a time. Put the flat on, grab the ring, finger tight. And then we move on to the, ooh, that is hot. Move on to the next jar. And I don't think I'm going to overpack this one. I'm going to go ahead and just do the way I normally do it. And so it needs a little bit more. But I'm definitely not going to. And sometimes I don't even do that. I just go ahead and put my potatoes in there and make sure that I'm at 1 inch, and I go from there. I can hear one of my chickens in the background laying an egg. Such a beautiful sound. Such hard workers those little girls are. They work so hard. We appreciate them. We sure do. Alright, so it looks like I need more liquid. It looks like I might have a little too many potatoes in there. Add a little bit more liquid. And you'll get used to just kind of seeing, like, I know I'm right here, so I should be at 1 inch, and you get used to that over time. So I'm good to go there. So we will go ahead and wipe this. And after this one, I got one more. You would ask yourself though, why take this time? Why take all this time to can potatoes, right? Because it's a long process. I mean, I've brought you along. Granted, I didn't keep you along while I was doing all the peeling and dicing and stuff, but I have kept you along a good bit. But it's because you do this, you go through all this today, you know, and they're shelf stable. These are going to keep. You know, ball jars and recipe books, they tell you they keep for a year, year and a half. You know, I have some that have gone for years. Finger tight. And, you know, they're good. I don't have to, I do them today and then I don't have to think about it. The reason that we started canning potatoes last week was because I made potatoes and I got into the jars and I'm like, oh, I only have 4 jars of potatoes left, of canned potatoes. So it was like, okay, I have got to go ahead and can potatoes, and then we found a deal, and that was even better. So it's like, okay, we got to do them now, and that's why we started canning them. But they'll keep for years. You know, I'm not going to recommend that you keep yours for years. I know that the regular recommendation is like a year, year and a half, but I have some that I have used way past those dates and have been perfectly fine. So that's just the way I do it, and it's good. No, that one might have been a little bit too much, but it saves time. So they're going to be shelf stable, but then it saves time. I spend all this time now doing this, but then, you know, 3 weeks from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, guess what? Oh, I gotta put the liquid in there. See, I'm not used to talking and doing it at the same time. A year from now, you know, I can just pop open my jar, and have potatoes. And you can do almost anything that you do with potatoes other than having a whole baked potato. You can do with these. So they'll be ready, and you don't have to worry about them. You know, you can make potato salad, you can add them to your potato soup, you can just add them to any soups, whatever you do with them. You can use them for potato bread, just a number of things. Whatever you use your potatoes for, that's what you can use these for. Okay, it looks like I have a tiny bit over, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. So that's good. Go ahead and wipe the rim. So that's why I can potatoes, because it makes them shelf stable. I'm going to have them for a long time to come. They're going to be ready to use, so they're going to save me time. I can get them on sale and also save money. Now, as far as like the potato peels, I make potato peel soup. Doesn't sound very appetizing, but it's pretty good. I also roast, so last week when we did the 50 pounds, I also take those peels and I roast them for the chickens. The chickens love them. So you think peels, oh, nasty, but they're not nasty. They're nutritious. Most people, you know, when they get a baked potato, they just work around the baked potato. They just eat the inside and they don't eat the peel. But the peels are nutritious. So you just have to get over, you know, what it looks like. They're good. So anyway, I roast them for the chickens. I make potato peel soup. I may do a video on that later on the road. You can also, you know, that's just, you can't do that. You can also just put them in your compost. You know, I use them when I make some types of broth. I go ahead and put the potato peels in there, because once I make the broth, they're going to go ahead and go in the compost. But I'll add them in there just for the nutrition value, you know, with the bones or the vegetables or whatever else that I may be making that broth out of. So it's just a number of things. So that was it on that part. Okay, so here we are at the canner. I have 7-quart jars in there. This is a Presto canner. I'm going to go ahead and line up my arrows over here. Not sure if you can see that, but over here on the left, I'm going to line up my arrows. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to do this again because it just made it look like this was really hard. And guys, it is not. It's very simple. The arrows are there for you. It is so simple. So there we go. So the lid is on there. My arrows are lined up. And then I take the handles and I just move them over and make sure that they're on there good. That's all that is. And right now I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat up on high. And I am going to go ahead and let this start venting. That's going to take it some time. I don't remember if it's 10 or 15 minutes, but something around there. And then the vent right here, this will start steaming. Steam will come out of there. When steam starts coming out of there, I will then set a timer for 10 minutes. Once it vents for the 10 minutes, I will come back. Alright guys, there's the steam, there's it venting. Not sure how to get you to see that. There's the vent. So I will go ahead and set my timer for 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and put the weight on it. Okay, it's been the 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and put my weight on it. Make sure it's on there good. And now when this comes up to 15 pounds of pressure, my weight is going to jiggle like that. and then my gauge will come up to 15 pounds of pressure over here as well. So that'll take it probably 10 minutes or so. I'm not exactly sure on the time. I'll hear it start jiggle, and then I'll come over here and I'll watch it, make sure, because we don't want it to get all the way up here to your caution mark, you know. That's when accidents happen. So as soon as I hear the jiggle, I'll come over here and I'll watch it, and then I'll go ahead and I'll start lowering it. So right now I'm on high, but then I'll go ahead and start lowering it over like 5 minutes or so. As long as I maintain the pressure, I'll go ahead and start my time at that time. I'll go ahead and start my timer for 40 minutes. Alright guys, so it has been the 40 minutes. The timer went off. I am turning this off now, and I am going to wait till this gauge comes all the way down to the 0 mark. Alright guys, it's been a while. This has been coming down on its pressure. You can see it's at 0. It's 0 right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove the, sorry for moving you around, I'm holding the phone. I'm going to remove that, the weight. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and undo this. So the lock is undone. Now when you take this lid off, you want to take it off away from you. So I'm going to go like this. So all that steam, you see all that steam coming out, will go that way and not in my face. I don't want to take this lid off like this, because that steam will go rushing towards your face, and that's not good. So we've taken this off now. I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way. It's really hot. So even though the pressure has come down, it is very hot in there. And now I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. I don't want to take the jars out of there right now. I want to give them a little bit of time to acclimate, because they've been under so much pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 5 minutes. When that timer goes off, they will be ready to be moved to where they're going to sit at. Okay, so I'll see you back. And that was one little pop. They'll start popping, the lids will start pinging, which is a good sign. That means that you got a seal and it's good to go. But I'll see you back in about 5 minutes or so. Alright guys, I waited the 5 minutes, and then I went ahead and moved the jars over here. You can see they're still boiling in there. Look at that. Look at that. So now what I will do is I will leave them here for the next 24 hours undisturbed, not moving them, not anything. I've moved them over here now. I'll come back about 24 hours, so tomorrow evening sometime. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you on the sealed jar, it's flat, there's nothing raised right here. On the unsealed jar, you see where it's raised. And now you can see where it's in. If you do that, excuse me, if you have cans, your goods, and it was raised and you pushed it in and now it's like this, that is not a good seal. That's a false seal. So you should never have to push it down to get it to be like that. If you get your jar and you can do this to the, let's see where it's raised up, but if you can do this, that is also not sealed. This, you can use, there's nothing raised up, and there's nothing to pop in or out. Just wanted to show you that. And then I will remove the rings, and I will rinse off my jars, and then I will label them You always want to make sure you label them, because guarantee you're going to forget what's in them. You're going to forget when you made them. So you want to put what's in them, and you want to put when you actually canned them. Okay, the month, the year. So this is basically it. I'm not going to bring you along when I remove the rings, because I'm just going to remove the rings, rinse off my jars. And rinsing off the jars is not something that you have to do, but I like to do it because I don't want any kind of residue left on my jars whatsoever. And then I wait till they dry, obviously, and then I'll label them, and then they'll get put away in the pantry. Alright guys, thank you so much for spending all this time with me canning potatoes. That noise you hear in the background is the dehydrator going. We're also dehydrating potatoes. I'm going to put a card for that up above, or wherever they show. You can watch that on the dehydrated potatoes if you'd like. But I appreciate you spending the time with me. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Until next time.